Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. The fantasy football season is soon to be upon us. It is August, and we are here for our first mock draft with myself and my younger brother Carson. Say hello to the people.
Hello, everyone. It's time to mock draft. It's mock draft season, baby.
That's right. And so what we're doing today is a first installment on a series of drafting from every position in a 12-team league. We have the standard roster construction of one quarterback, two starting running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. You'll notice kickers and defenses are omitted, and that's because you shouldn't be playing with them. They're just not very fun. But it really won't change the process of mock drafting. So,
yeah. And 12-team as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, so without further ado, I think we can go ahead and get started unless you have anything else, Carson.
Nope. Blake and I will basically be alternating, so this next episode we'll put out, I'll be the second pick, and Blake will be the 8th, and then so on. So,
we'll
be alternating, and we'll show every pick. And, I'm ready to go.
Okay, so I'm going to start the draft, and I do need to warn everyone watching that I have put no time limit on these picks. And so Carson is notorious for taking his time. I am not going to waste any time. I'm going to take Justin Jefferson at the 1.1.
Well, that's simple.
Yeah, but once we get to 7, it's a mystery who's going.
I wanted Bijan, probably knew I wasn't going to get him. And, a lot of the guys I wanted are not there. I'm not going to lie. I was hopeful for Bijan. I was hopeful for Kelsey. Didn't get any of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I go for Saquon here, it's a little bit of a reach. So I think I need to go for someone who definitely would not make it to even the end of the first round, most likely. So I think, therefore, I got to take Cooper Kupp.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting kind of first few picks here with 3 running backs going in the top 4. That's kind of like old head fantasy right now.
This is wide receiver happy draft right here, which is crazy. Okay, let's see.
Ooh, do you give Team 6 the chance to pair up Mahomes?
Oof, gosh. You know what? Oh, this is already feeling like a funky draft for me, but I kind of want to go for Mahomes because, I don't know, I'm not super excited about Josh Jacobs here. I'd almost just wait a little bit longer for value, and then I feel like there's good value a little bit later on for wide receivers too. So you gave me that idea. I'm going to see how I feel about it. We're out here experimenting a little bit. I think this is a good position to be taking Mahomes as kind of this middle of the draft order. So, because this is kind of where you have to take him. It's kind of the middle of the second round. So we'll see what happens.
All right.
Josh Allen.
Yeah, go Josh Allen. All right. Jalen Hurts is here. I will be taking him with one of my next 2 picks. I'm going to go ahead and take Chris Olave. He's got the upside of a wide receiver 1. He's got an upgraded quarterback in Derek Carr. And I believe that wide receivers in PPR format especially are what you want to target early on. So with that, I'm going to take my quarterback and not have to worry about that position for the rest of the draft.
That is fair. Yeah, Jalen Hurts, that's a great pick right there. Just looking at all my options, I'm a little disappointed that Ramondre Stevenson left. Although I am reading that Ezekiel Elliott was potentially going to join there, but that's not official yet. But if that became official, that would change Ramondre Stevenson's value probably quite a bit.
Yeah, his ADP would definitely drop.
Yeah, so, oh gosh, I'm not going to go tight end, right? Surely not. I feel like I need a running back. I know Blake hasn't gone for one yet, but I feel like what's tough here is that I don't really love Breece Hall being my RB1 because of the fact that he's probably not going to start off the season at 100% coming off the ACL tear at the middle of last season. That being said, though, do I just go long on running backs? I might have to.
The 0 RB strategy?
0 RB strategy? I think that's going to hurt me a little too much because I already got a good wide receiver. Yeah, I'm going to go Breece Hall and hope I get one of these other guys I'm kind of in the look of next.
So my perspective on that, seeing how everyone else is drafted, now obviously Team 12 just took 3 running backs, but they're a bot, so they're going to be a little unpredictable. But you can see here, the majority of the league has already taken both of their starting running backs. So I think that there's going to become a slowdown on running backs moving forward. Obviously, you can fill your flex, but it behooves you to fill your roster and not just stack up at one position.
That's true. That is very true. And here I'm almost considering Alexander Madison. I like how he... I mean, he's a lot lower. I mean, he wouldn't get back to me most likely, but who knows. But like Aaron Jones, I think it's just a lot of question marks on that offense, whereas Alexander Madison, like, he should be the 3-down back on the Vikings offense. But let's see. Calvin Ridley is also enticing. I don't have my tight end yet, but I feel like I can wait a little bit longer for that. I think I'm going to go Alexander Madison because I want my 2 running backs because I feel great about having Cooper Kupp.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I can fill in from there after him. So I'm going to get my second running back. A lot of mock drafts this season, I've been a little bit running back happy. I'm trying to tone that back a little bit, but I filled out my running back spots, and here we are.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting move because I think Madison has a lot less PPR upside than Aaron Jones.
Sure.
But I think, man, the biggest question mark with him is he going to be the Dalvin Cook Jr. that we've come to know and expect from him with a full season's workload? So that'll be an interesting thing to follow.
I'm willing to take that risk. But, yeah, it will be an interesting thing because how to value him with knowing he should be the starting running back going into the season is a little interesting.
Yeah. So looking here, I can see that there aren't a ton of running backs between my next couple picks. So I am inclined to just keep waiting, honestly. So here I'm going to take... Now, let me double check. I want to make sure that there's a potential. Okay, so I'm going to skip George Kittle and instead pair up Jalen Hurts with Dallas Goedert. I think that is a smart move. There's a lot of research indicating that stacking in your drafts is a good way to maximize upside, and so that's what I'll be doing here. Now, the real question is, do I want Calvin Ridley to go with him or DeAndre Hopkins? So with Ridley, I mean, both of them are poised to be wide receiver ones in their offense. Obviously, Ridley is quite a bit younger than Hopkins, relatively speaking, but we haven't seen him play football in 2 years, so there's some risk there. He would be my flex, so either way, I think it's going to be okay. I don't think Ridley, like, in terms of his range of outcomes, I wouldn't say Ridley is on the precipice of being a bust this year by any means, but it could certainly be a bit of a learning curve like we saw with Deshaun Watson last year. But for the upside, I'm going to take Calvin Ridley here just because I think
for him being your wide receiver 3, that's great.
Yeah. And then I'm going to scroll down a little bit here, but I'm pairing up my tight end with his quarterback, and I like that.
Yeah, I do like that too. I think those are good picks. And yeah, I mean, if you're not loving any of the running backs, I guess don't force it, because at the end of the day, the difference between these mid-tier guys could be a little unpredictable, so just wait a little bit longer and get the guys you love. All right, let's see. Okay, good on quarterback. We all know that. Don't need to go for another running back, although I think there's some decent value here, but not for my team at the moment. I'm looking at wide receiver and tight end. So I'm thinking about Kyle Pitts or Darren Waller, most likely.
Wait a second. Hold on. I got to stop you right there just for a moment. Hopkins.
What is it?
Hopkins has presumably fallen to... I guess, talk to me why you're not considering Hopkins here.
I'm not saying I just said wide receiver. I'm not considering Hopkins, but I think I would go Judy. I think I like Judy more. He's projected higher points, so that's not like super bold. His ADP is lower for Judy, but I mean, you and I both don't love Hopkins because I mean he should be the wide receiver 1, but he is 31 years old. He's getting older, and he's on a team that does not pass the ball a lot. And I mean, we know A.J. Brown was successful, but A.J. Brown was at the beginning of his career and kind of an uncomparable athlete. So I don't know. I don't know if I have as much faith in Hopkins.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go.
Well, don't let me dissuade you.
Well, I hear you. I think that I'm going to go Judy, and I have hope as a kind of a Broncos fan I'm more of a fan of them than any other NFL team. I'm hoping they can bounce back. He should be the wide receiver 1. He's the youngest. I mean, he's younger than Cortland Sutton.
Okay, Team 9 has a crazy lineup right now. Diggs, Brown,
Yeah, he
Hopkins,
does.
Etienne, and Burrow. Dude, that team is stacked. All right, I'm going to change up the screen here just for a moment. There we go. Now we can see the middle rounds here.
Let's see. I am going to... I was hoping that I would get Waller or Pitts back to me. So I see that the Giants, the wide receivers, their pass options are Paris Campbell, Isaiah Hodgins, and Darius Slayton. And I like a 30-year-old Darren Waller. I think that he has a good chance of doing well on that team. So I'm going to go ahead and take my tight end right now.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, as we get to me, I'm happy with this. I can totally take Alvin Kamara and Rachaad White in the same division.
Ooh, my gosh. That's actually great for the 0 RB, honestly.
And I'm going to put myself on auto pick because I've queued up my guys. And there we go. Very happy with how that worked out. And this is why I advocate for doing so many mock drafts, because I've kind of worked through these strategies during the preseason, and I felt really confident with in picks 6 and 7 taking my 2 running backs just based on how ADP works out.
Yeah, that's fair, because that's kind of a zone. Those 2 running backs in that zone is a lot of value, because I think that, I mean, Kamara, if he faces no suspension, that's great. I mean, he's certainly not a running back you would draft in the 6th round if he didn't have that looming over him. And Rachaad White has the opportunity to be, I mean, almost certainly will be their number 1 running back. So it just depends on how much of a 3-down back and holding off the other guys. But I think he's got a great opportunity. And for my pick, I think it's pretty simple. You know how much I love Deontay Johnson. I mean, he had 0 receiving touchdowns last season.
Yeah, what's not to like?
He's bound to get more than that.
I know.
And have some positive regression.
Yeah.
And as my flex, I'm happy with him being there.
Very nice.
So I have filled out my starting lineup. It is Patrick Mahomes, Breece Hall, Alexander Madison, Cooper Kupp, Jerry Jeudy, Darren Waller, Deontay Johnson. And I'm liking it. I actually am. Believe it or not. Because I tend to not be liking a lot of my mock drafts this season for whatever reason. Yeah. So, let's see. I'm not loving a lot of what's here, but I gotta remember it's my bench, so I gotta think about that with that mindset. I got my quarterback, and let's see. It's gonna probably it's gonna be between some Washington Commanders, because it's gonna be Jahan Dotson most likely. Maybe I could see him having a second-year bounce. Or it's going to be Antonio Gibson because of his pass-catching upside. And I think I'm going to go Gibson just for the fact that, I was a little bit nervous of taking Breece Hall as my RB1. So I think I'm going to go running back here as my first bench slot.
Yeah, that's a good pick. If he would have made it to me, that would have been my selection as well. With no J.D. McKissick, Gibson is poised to take that third down back role, which is very valuable in PPR. Now we're back here with me on the back-to-back selections, and I'm considering... So I do love the upside of Rashad Penny on a good offense. It is another Philadelphia Eagle, so there's a little bit of correlation there as well. And on top of that, just the amount of scoring potential. If we can... basically, if they're at the goal line, I'm either going to get a touchdown from Jalen Hurts or Rashad Penny. I think those are my 2 setups there, and that team scores a lot of touchdowns, so I'm good with that being my first selection here. And then moving back to a wide receiver, I'm considering between Juju Smith-Schuster and Gabe Davis. I think both players offer good upside. Obviously, I think Davis is the more explosive player, but I think people are forgetting that Smith-Schuster is still a talented wide receiver in this league. I think he's pretty undervalued here, considering he is the clear number one on New England.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, I think rather than the gamble of, which Gabe Davis are we going to see on any given week, I'm going to go with Juju for the projected stability here. And I know that's a little counterintuitive, but we'll talk about when I get to the double-digit rounds where I start taking flyers on less sure bets. So I'm good with that.
I like both of those picks. I mean, remember how valuable Jamal Williams was last season because of all the rushing touchdowns he got over DeAndre Swift. So you're expecting the same thing in Philadelphia this season.
Yeah, to
and
some
the fact
extent.
that Juju's 26 years old is like surprising.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just that feels super young, and he's a wide receiver. Not that he's going to go back to this, but I mean, he was almost drafted as a top 5 wide receiver at one point, and he's fallen off a bit. That's clear. But I mean, the potential is there, so I like that pick. All right, let's see. All right, got my quarterback. Got a third running back, and now we're looking at probably wide receiver here. And I don't love any of these options. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to go Sutton and Judy, although I like Sutton's value here a lot. Actually, I don't know. I might still do it, and it's usually not something I'd recommend, but I don't love the inconsistency of Gabe Davis. Then it's just like a consortium of Ravens wide receivers, and who knows what you're going to get there. So I really do like Sutton's value. I'm going 2 Broncos wide receivers, and I'll just be playing the one that's got the hot hand or the one that's healthy. So I don't know. Here we go.
I feel like at this point you have to make a play for Russell Wilson later in the draft.
I think, you better believe it. Although, yeah, we'll talk about that as we get there. There's probably no reason to draft a second quarterback with me having Patrick Mahomes, but I'll be keeping my eye on Russell.
Mm-hmm.
You better believe it. I'll draft him right now. No, I'm kidding. Let's see. Okay. We're in another spot where I'm not absolutely loving the wide receivers. It's not like the next round I'd love them, though, so that's not that surprising. Okay. Let's see. I guess I'm probably thinking... I could get... there's no reason for me to get a... This is me taking up my time. You know me.
Yep.
You know me. I'm deciding between Allen Lazard and Adam Thielen.
Ooh.
I guess.
Okay.
Adam Thielen's 32, but he's the clear wide receiver. Well, DJ Chark's there, but he should be the wide receiver 1 in the Panthers offense with Bryce Young.
To start the
super
year.
Excited about that.
I think Jonathan Mingo has all the upside. He's a player that I'm really targeting later in drafts that has that potential to break out in year 1 and take over the starting role in that passing offense. We know he has a good quarterback in Bryce Young, so I don't really worry about that.
Yeah. I'm also keeping an eye on Jerick McKinnon just because of how he ended the season last year, being a pass-catching receiving back for the Chiefs. And I do have Mahomes, although that's not as a premium of a stack as Goddard and Hurts, I will admit. But I think, all that being said, of all those different players, I'm liking it. Antonio Gibson being my RB3, I'm not too uncomfortable because I like my starting running backs a lot. So I think I do add just more wide receiver depth. And I think I am going to go Lazard because I'm excited about what that Jets offense could look like with Aaron Rodgers and just a lot of those rookies from last year going into their second year. I do have Breece Hall, so I guess I'm going in on the Jets, but there's a prior connection between Rodgers and Lazard, and I think that I would like Lazard to be my 5th wide receiver.
All right, cool. So I was hoping Devon A-Chain would make it to me. I like him for his upside. But now we're looking at Rashad Bateman, who I'm not a huge fan of. I think he is going to end up being a bust for his career.
No.
I know, Carson really champions him for whatever reason.
More last season than this, but yeah.
Jerick McKinnon here, I think, is good value. I do need to consider the possibility, and that's another reason why I took Rashad Penny in my last set of picks, but there is a possibility that Kamara gets suspended. If that's the case, I do want to have some more RBs to kind of back up that absence. So I'm going to queue up Jerick McKinnon here. And then scrolling down a little bit, I think what I'm going to do, honestly, is I'm going to take a reach on a player, a rookie or a younger player that has the potential upside. And so I am going to actually skip on, let's see, I'm choosing between Sky Moore and Jonathan Mingo, who I was just talking about. Based on what I said, I'm going to go ahead and give Mingo the edge. So I'm queuing up those 2 picks and putting them in now. I think early season, so Mingo has been now my 5th wide receiver. I'm perfectly comfortable with him kind of sitting on the bench for a little while, establishing his role, and then, at some point, if he does break out, then I have the option to trade one of my higher wide receivers like Juju Smith-Schuster or, something along those lines and work that into a different player. So I like the upside with Mingo there.
I think that's fair. Let's see. Now I am thinking between, I guess, Elijah Mitchell, but that'd be a really good pick if I had McCaffrey, but you're kind of just hoping that McCaffrey gets injured, and that's not really a strategy I want to go for, even if he does have an injury history, but it's just not a super exciting pick right now. So more likely, I guess I'm going to keep on going wide receivers, and hey, it's PPR, it makes sense. So I'm really deciding between Rondale Moore and Sky Moore, and I think I like Rondale Moore a lot, but it's going to be Colt McCoy for the vast majority of the season before Kyler Murray returns. I like that he's the wide receiver too, but I'm going to go with, the team. I think the fact that I have Mahomes kind of makes me lean towards Sky Moore in hopes that he can just, become one of those wide receivers that is out for every single play pretty much out there on the field. So, their best pass catcher is Travis Kelce, and I'm going to roll the dice because the second best pass catcher could really be anyone, and I'm going to cross my fingers and hope it's Sky Moore.
And I think that's what you have to do in these double-digit rounds, because is it possible that Rondale Moore finishes ahead of Sky Moore this season? Absolutely. But Sky Moore has a lot more upside than Rondale in this upcoming season, and I think that's wise to target. Now, if you go back-to-back with Rashee Rice here, I wouldn't blink an eye.
I'm thinking it.
You're really loading up on wide receivers at this point. We are nearing the end of the draft here. But in terms of taking lottery shots, I like the strategy from that point.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do it. I was kind of hoping. I was hoping Rondale Moore could, but I like the fact that I'm going all in on who could. I think between one of them, between the two of them, I would like to think that between Rice and Sky Moore, that one of them would have a big role in this offense with Patrick Mahomes, my quarterback.
Yeah.
So there you go. I probably won't draft another wide receiver. We'll see what happens, though.
Yeah, okay, so the last one I'm going to take here, I'm considering between Ezekiel Elliott and Raheem Mostert. Now, with Zeke, I'm kind of thinking it's going to be similar to what I'm searching for with Rashad Penny, which is like a goal line back. Raheem Mostert could very well start the season as the lead running back in Miami. However, with Jeff Wilson and Devon Achane on his heels, presumably, I think it's really only a matter of time before that role kind of decreases or goes away entirely. So I'm going to lean towards Zeke here as my final running back selection. And then I will be taking, with my final pick, I like Romeo Doubs. Nico Collins, I'm just...
Your second to last pick, actually.
Oh, is it second to last? Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, so does that change anything? No, not really. I'll take Doubs here, I believe, and I'm going to scroll down just to kind of see what's going on beyond that. Yeah, I'm good with that. So I'm going to take Ezekiel Elliott and Romeo Doubs, and then with my last pick, we'll talk about it when it gets here.
Cool. All right, let's see. I'm looking for, at this point, I got 7 wide receivers. I don't need to go for another one. I got my guy, Darren Waller, as my tight end. Should just be, plug and play every single week. I got Mahomes, so that leaves running backs. So I guess I'm hunting for upside, and I think that, Jeff Wilson had a role, but, drafted the rookie, and they still have Raheem Mostert. And I'm just seeing other rookies here that could have an opportunity, but, Tank Bigsby would probably be and Roshan Johnson would probably be more attractive rookies to go after than Chase Brown or Tyjae Spears, just given the situation. So, I don't know. This might be a little bit of a cop-out just because by the time you're actually doing your draft, you'll probably know if these players will be on a team and their value would increase drastically. But I'm going to go Leonard Fournette. I mean, I feel good about that. And like I said, he probably will shoot up the board a little bit, depending on what team he ends up on.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost want to go Kareem Hunt here. I feel kind of bad doing that, but I don't know. If this was my draft and this was for my real team, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to go for it because all of these other running backs right here are not that enticing. So I'm just going to grab the free agents. If you draft early enough to where this can be a viable strategy, I say go for it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Those are values. Those are hidden values with wide ranges of outcome at the bottom of the drafts. That's what you're looking for at the end of your draft. So, I mean, we've been talking about that the entire time. So, looking back at what I need now, so I have 6 wide receivers. I've got 5 running backs. I'm not considering drafting another quarterback or another tight end here. So it's really just who remaining do I like the most. And, you know, there's part of me that wants to take a flyer on John Mechie, who was with battling leukemia, I want to say, last season.
Oh, yeah.
But he is an Alabama prospect, and that offense is wide open, presumably, with the departure of Brandon Cooks. I mean, the ghost of Robert Woods is there, but I think that Mechie's got an opportunity to really play for a premium spot, competing primarily with Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz. So I'm going to take a flyer on John Mechie as my last pick. And
yeah, I like that.
If it's someone that doesn't kind of pan out in the early part of the season, I can cut with no concern and move on to someone who is producing. So
that's true.
Yeah,
and it is kind of what you want your focus to be with these last picks, is someone that a flyer that you can kind of tell pretty early on if you want to drop them, because you're going to be doing waiver acquisitions early on with guys being enticing. So I think that strategy, not a wait and see, immediately let's see how big their impact is. That's what you want to be going for those last picks, honestly.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and break down our teams really briefly here. I mean, obviously Justin Jefferson, Olave with the wide receiver 1 upside, Calvin Ridley as my starting 3 wide receivers, I feel really good about.
That's awesome.
Jalen Hurts at quarterback, I love. Dallas Goedert pairing up with him, I feel great about. Kamara and White being my 2 starting running backs going into week 1. Can't complain. I've got Rashad Penny, Jerick McKinnon, and Ezekiel Elliott behind those guys in case, any injuries or suspensions. And I think that at least one of them in McKinnon has good PPR upside. Otherwise, I'm kind of banking on goal line production, which I think is fair to assume with those 2 players. And then my backup wide receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster, he's a starting wide receiver in in an offense that needs good receivers. So
an offense that you love.
That's true too. Jonathan Mingo for the upside, Romeo Doubs, similar reason, and Mechie, hey, you guessed it, the same reason I drafted the prior 2. They have the potential to rise up in their depth chart and actually make some noise at a good value.
All right, and with my team, my starting QB is Patrick Mahomes, so feel really good about that. And then my running backs, Breece Hall and Alexander Mattison, with Antonio Gibson waiting in the wings as my top bench slot. And then at the end of the draft, I did Fournette and Hunt as kind of flyers, because if they end up on team, that'd be great depth, depending on what team they end up on. And then wide receivers, feel amazing about Kupp, my first-round pick. Jerry Jeudy, I'm high on him. Deontay Johnson is my flex, I feel good about. And then Darren Waller, I like him on his new team as my tight end. He should be a simple play every single week for me. And then on the bench, basically just my wide receivers are left to talk about, and just a bunch of different guys that I think could have potentially good seasons. Sutton, it gives me the versatility to know who the best Broncos pass catcher is going to be, which is likely going to be Jeudy, but if he's injured, I have Sutton, so I'm happy about that. I like Lazard in that Jets offense with his prior chemistry of Aaron Rodgers, and then, kind of just closing my eyes and throwing some darts and hoping that Sky Moore, Rashid Rice, one of them is going to be super involved in that Chiefs offense to pair up with my Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. So I'm liking that.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you all for watching. We will be doing more of these very soon. every Tuesday and Thursday up until the middle of August, where we'll then transition into tier list content. So hope you all enjoyed, and we will talk to you soon.
Peace out, everybody.